Welcome to Our Communiversity Today, sponsored by Pendleton Community Bank and Cucumber and Company, a community affairs program from West Virginia Institute of Technology in Beckley, hosted by Dr. T. Ramon Stuart, president of West Virginia University Institute of Technology, working to make a difference in Southern West Virginia. Guest opinions expressed on this program may not represent the opinions of West Virginia University Institute of Technology, Southern Communications, or its sponsors.
Welcome to Our Communiversity Today.
Again,
I'm Dr. Ramon Stuart, president of WVU Tech here in Beckley, and I'm thankful that you chose to be with us today as we explore Our Communiversity. And when you think about the communiversity, we believe that the community is the university and the university is the community. And one of the ways that we can achieve that collaborative and also integrative approach to helping lead here and develop here is to work with various community partners here in Southern West Virginia to make sure that all of us have the opportunity to do better and be better. And one of those partners is the Raleigh County Emergency Services. And I'm so happy to have with us today John Zilinski, who serves as the director. John is very important. You know, we've had a wave of storms lately. And one of the things that is done to help keep you, me, and all of us safe is individuals like John comes together, brings a variety of people together to make sure that we know what to do, how to do it, when to do it. So today we're going to explore emergency management here in Raleigh County and with John. And as always, our goal on Our Communiversity Today is simply to answer two questions. Why not us? And why not now? So right after this break, we'll be back with more Our Communiversity Today on News Talk WWNR.
Bank with purpose and Golden Bear pride. At Pendleton Community Bank, our WVU Tech Affinity debit card does more than make purchases. It makes a difference. Every swipe supports the William Bill Benn Student Success Fund, helping WVU Tech students facing financial hardships stay on track to achieve their dreams. Show your school spirit and help shape the future, one transaction at a time. Visit yourbank.bank to get started today. Pendleton Community Bank, here for students, here for community, here for you. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Discover WVU Tech right in your backyard. With 6 ABET accredited engineering programs ranked among the top 100 for engineering and nursing nationwide, WVU Tech offers the best return on investment in West Virginia. Our small, supportive campus is home to high-demand programs in fields like hospitality and culinary, chemical forensics, and the only 4-year construction management degree in West Virginia. Learn more about all the exciting things happening at Tech at wvutech.edu today.
You need a website right now. You can't do anything right now. Just call Cucumber. Do it right here and now.
Get started right now on your dream website. Call Cucumber and Company today. 304-250-0123. Online at cucumberandcompany.com.
Welcome back to Our Communiversity Today. Again, we are visiting with John Zilinski, who serves as the director of the Raleigh County Emergency Services, and we're going to talk about how his organization helps keep us all safe. How are you today, John?
Good. Thank you, Dr. Stewart, for having us out today. And
well, honestly,
on this good cold day.
And we have had quite a number of cold days,
Yes,
John, and honestly, I should be the one thanking you. The work that you and the different first responders here in Raleigh County do to keep us all safe has not gone unnoticed. So thank you for all that you do.
Well, you know, it wouldn't be possible without the team that we have throughout the county. You know, with our partners and our first responders, you just couldn't do it without those able bodies that will come out in the middle of a snowstorm or the middle of a flood or something like that to get the job done for the community.
Well, certainly, again, thank you. And John, just when I look and I think director of Raleigh County Emergency Services, I ask, well, how did one get here? How did you become the director of Raleigh County Emergency Services?
Well, it was all started with an interest in the fire department and EMS. You know, My father, he was a police officer here in Beckley. He retired with 24 years. So I grew up knowing first responders and kind of what it took. And, with that, I went over into the fire and EMS service and just built from there. I applied seen a job application for Raleigh County Emergency Services, and it looked interesting. And I knew a little bit about what was going on. And when I started part-time, and 26 years later, here I am. Yeah. So, it was a long road, and it was a very informative role to fill when I became director. There was some challenges and stuff, but sometimes it feels like there's a burden on you. But like we said, our partners make this really, really come together in a crisis.
I love it. It sounds like you were born into a life of service. Your father being a police officer here, your service as a firefighter, and then answering the call. A lot was unknown at that particular time in terms of emergency services. And I remember when emergency services really became something that we as the general public started to look at after 9/11, because of the coordination that is required for various situations that can result in life or death. And so I thank you again for your individual service. And you talked about team. And, I say all the time, all of us are stronger than one of us. Tell me a little bit about the team that you assemble or work with during emergencies of any sort.
Well, the first thing is getting prepared, having that advance notice of a storm coming in and being able to bring those partners in. And by partners, I'm talking about critical infrastructure. The first thing you want to think about is water, power, shelter, things like that are life-threatening during any disaster, whether it be in the middle of the summer or the middle of winter time. So, you want to bring those partners in first to make sure there's no outstanding issues or any crisis that may be going on in their department, that they may need some outside help before that storm gets here.
So being prepared. And I always used to say when I was still in the professoriate, the 7 Ps, poor prior preparation produces, excuse my French or the lack thereof, piss poor performance. And so with that level of preparation, you're going out engaging the various constituents. You talked about, the electricity. You talked about the water. How do you bring everybody together?
Well, years ago, we started a conversation by telephone. That was before we had all the
good old conference calls.
Yeah, good old conference calls. So you really didn't see who was on that call. You just knew that you invited a bunch of people, and so you had conference calls going on. So that's what really initiated this. And like you said, 9/11 brought a lot of communication issues out in the open, being able to communicate with multiple agencies, being able to communicate interagency in itself. So, and then we had the derecho that came along, and that really opened up everybody's eyes that, we all got to work together in order to be able to get to that common goal of safety.
The derecho is interesting. I remember I was still at another higher education institution in West Virginia, and I had just finished getting my hair cut at that time, and I was following my barber. We were there in St. Albans on Route 60, and I remember just a loud boom, and I watched a tree fall on his Jeep Grand Cherokee. And I always think, man, that could have been different because I was falling behind in a Ford Mustang or so, which is a different infrastructure. Yeah. But what I remember is the derecho just came out of nowhere. How do you respond in times like that?
We have a motto, be prepared, not scared. So, we live in southern West Virginia, which we are very prone to flooding. And it's a simple rainstorm that could be happening on the western end of the county, and it's sunshining in Beckley, and we start getting 911 calls about flooding happening. So it can happen that quick, but having these partners together already and being able to call upon them and being able to know what resources that you have available to your community. That's a huge step, and having those resources locally here available. And, you know, resources I'm talking about, Department of Highways, what do they have in their capability? Do we have to call out outside resources? You know, do we have enough generators to supply those water plants and sewer plants, you know, that don't have a generator? Some of your smaller PSDs may not have that infrastructure like some of your larger companies do.
Yeah. Be prepared, not scared.
That's on all of our stickers. That's all on our wristbands. We have wristbands on them, and yeah.
And I think that's so important because, you know, obviously when we talk about the derecho, you know, it seemed to come out of nowhere, a storm that I don't think we had ever really witnessed in West Virginia. But then that level of preparation, you know, sometimes we watch the news and we see people staging different utilities and stuff, but in a situation like that, you cannot be scared, but you know that you're prepared.
Yeah,
so is there a level of training or something? I know when you think about the military and military preparation or preparedness, they train day in and day out. Is there a training or any type of things that help you be better prepared and not scared?
Well, for us as an agency, we have training that we go to on a yearly basis. Anybody that's in emergency management in our agency has already attended the Basic Academy for FEMA, which is a 2-week class just dealing with preparing for disasters of all sorts and actually how to respond to those and who needs to be involved. So on our end, there's a lot of training. On the other end, we like to try to get out into the public and notify the public by giving, you know, certain items out that, you know, like I said, we have the wristbands with "Be Prepared, Not Scared" on them. We have backpacks that have checklists for people to look at to see what items they need during the disaster. So, you know, it's public education along with education for the officials that are responding to that.
Yeah, and I think all of us being aware and informed and, you know, having the preparation calls and just going through making sure we understand our inventory. In terms of those calls, what are the frequencies of them?
You know, we watch the weather forecast. You know, we have partnerships with National Weather Service. We do a briefing with them every week, no matter good weather or bad weather. We do a briefing on Mondays and Fridays. And during a storm event like that, we're on there maybe twice a day doing events with the National Weather Service. So, you know, to predict something like that, like this last ice storm that we have went through, you know, we knew 4 or 5 days before this that we could potentially get something. They was left field of ice, left field with snow, you know, didn't really know where we was going. But then there's a state of preparedness you got to take. And that's what the governor put in effect, was a preparation to get everybody prepared, you know. And that means, you know, don't start just watching the weather. Check your items that you have. Check your safety kit that you may have in your house. Is your generator running? Is it, you know, do you have alternate source of power? You know, do you have an alternate source of heat? You know, things like that to start looking for in your house before the storm gets here. Because when the storm gets here, the store's shut down or the store shelves are empty. So, you know.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, be prepared, not scared. In studio today, John Zilinski, Director of Raleigh County Emergency Services. We're going to take a short break, so stay tuned to News Talk WWNR for more Our Communiversity Today.
Bank with purpose and Golden Bear pride. At Pendleton Community Bank, our WVU Tech Affinity debit card does more than make purchases. It makes a difference. Every swipe supports the William Bill Benn Student Success Fund, helping WVU Tech students facing financial hardships stay on track to achieve their dreams. Show your school spirit and help shape the future, one transaction at a time. Visit yourbank.bank to get started today. Pendleton Community Bank, here for students, here for community, here for you. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Discover WVU Tech right in your backyard. With 6 ABET accredited engineering programs ranked among the top 100 for engineering and nursing nationwide, WVU Tech offers the best return on investment in West Virginia. Our small, supportive campus is home to high-demand programs in fields like hospitality and culinary, chemical forensics, and the only 4-year construction management degree in West Virginia. Learn more about all the exciting things happening at Tech at wvutech.edu today.
Hey, you need a website. You can't do anything. Just call Cucumber. Do it right here and now.
Get started right now on your dream website. Call Cucumber and Company today. 304-250-0123. Online at cucumberandcompany.com.
Welcome back to Our Communiversity Today. Again, in studio is John Zilinski, who is the director of Raleigh County Emergency Services. And we're talking about being prepared, not scared. And John, that saying, I hope resonates with our listeners. Be prepared, not scared. And you talked about for a while, in our previous segment about how you, as the director of Raleigh County Emergency Services, comes in with the various constituents, the power, the infrastructure players, the water, and, make sure that you know what the potential challenge is before us. And then, more importantly, stage and prepare to respond in a strategic, concerted manner, not a scared and chaotic one. And so, again, I thank you on behalf of our listeners. I thank you on behalf of people in Southern West Virginia for what you do to be prepared, not scared. But with that in mind, how can people help you? How can people help the various constituents that really mobilize during adverse weather or adverse conditions? How can we as citizens help you maximize your response?
During the winter times, snow response, you have first responders trying to respond into the snow. And emergencies still happen. We have the heart attack victims. We have things like that we still have to gain access to. And just not having a lot of people on the roadways, during that first initial snowfall, heed the warnings that come across the radio and news saying, don't go out unless you absolutely have to. And, just giving way for those emergency vehicles and the snowplows, because at that time they become the emergency vehicles for us, because we're calling on them to clear a street if we've got a call on that street. So, that becomes really crucial at the time. It's just kind of giving way for the emergency vehicles to respond.
And so if you had a medical emergency, obviously it would come in through 911, and then you would work with local first responders to coordinate to have either state road or city snowplows that would come in and pave the road.
Yeah, we prepared before this storm to contact the local fire departments to see which ones already had their snowplows on the front of their trucks, what ambulance was four-wheel drive. We kind of checked on all of that beforehand, so we already had a list in dispatch. So we knew if we got an EMS call on a country road, maybe off of Maple Fork or something like that, we knew that the fire department would have a vehicle with a snowplow on the front that could assist that ambulance to get into that patient.
I think that's phenomenal because you take it to scale. When you look at Raleigh County, it's not small when you go from end to end, both east to west and north to south. But you have assets distributed throughout the county that could respond in a timely manner during that situation.
Yes, we have 13 volunteer fire departments throughout the county that, are prepared for this. They have generators at their fire stations. They have trucks with scrapers on them. Some of our volunteer fire departments, they house ambulances now. So they have ambulances that can respond, along with county ambulances that are in the county, like Jane Care and Best. Those EMS agencies, most of them are four-wheel drive now because of the area that we live in. So, knowing that ahead of time and knowing how to respond into these locations before that emergency occurs, because, it's not if it's going to occur. We know it's going to because it always happens during one of those bad times that we need to get somebody into a resident.
Yeah, it's just amazing as I sit here and think 13 volunteer fire departments. I know places like Beckley has a paid fire department. But you look at that and you look at these individuals that stand poised and ready to put service over self and going out and working. And to our listeners, I hope it brings you comfort knowing that people like John Zilinski and the other first responders are willing to help you during challenging times. And so, again, I cannot thank you enough for just that sheer phenomena that is witnessed. But, you know, lately here in Raleigh County, southern West Virginia, this has been a doozy. And it's winter time, and you know we actually started snow back in Thanksgiving time. We missed a white Christmas, and then January has been a doozy with snowstorms, and not only snowstorms, but snow, ice, snow some more. And so tell me about this particular season and what is a little bit of tell me what your thoughts are being prepared during this season because of unknowns or anomalies like that.
You know, the ice is the big thing on this previous storm that we've had. But, you know, the snow, I think the general area is prepared for snow. But when you get ice, snow, and then, you know, some more ice on top of that, you know, just like driving over here, we've seen somebody out with actually like a grader in their parking lot just chipping away at the ice just to be able to park. So, you know, things like that come into effect if there was a 911 call at that business. And, you know, it don't matter what four-wheel drive vehicle you've got. It will still not go on ice. So, you know, those are things that you've got to think of in advance. You know, and road clearing and street departments and Department of Highways, they're crucial during these times to bring them on board with the planning.
Yeah, and you know, with that planning and working, and you mentioned these country roads that we live on and the different things, it may be trees down, power lines down, you know, so many things that could be direct impediments to actually trying to render aid to people. How do you go through during challenging times like the ice storm, during challenging times like the derecho? How do you go through and prioritize the deployment of the assets that you have for the emergencies that are there?
The first thing we want to look at is our critical infrastructure. That is crucial. You know, like you said earlier in the show, power, you know, this past storm, we really got lucky. You know, we would probably be still dealing with emergency situations, and I wouldn't be sitting here in the chair today because still dealing with that probably if we would have lost power. Because with a power outage like that, we'd had to open emergency shelters and evacuate residents to these shelters because of the extreme coldness that was there, and they might not have had a secondary heat. They'd had to be put in emergency shelters. So, you know, that is one thing. The next thing is the water, which is a critical infrastructure also. You know, like we talked about, we're rural, up and down on the hills around here, you know, so there's water pumps. Those water pumps take electricity. And not all these water pumps up the hills and hollers have an actual generator. That was usually impossible to outfit every pump with a generator. So, you know, that's where we come in to try to locate generators for these areas so the water companies can go out, hook the generator up to the pump and supply water during emergency.
So you know, again, as we sit here and for the most part, we enjoy the comforts of the amenities that we have, the food, the water, the shelter, you know, and as I'm sitting here listening to you, you know, I would have never thought that the water pumps, you know, need a generator and things like that. So what keeps you up at night?
Well, you know, I had a director, Mr. Bowden, several years ago that told me always keep a notepad beside the bed. He said, because you'll wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, and need to write something down. That way you can think about it and do it the next day. And, you know, there are times that you get up, and during this past storm, I was up about every 2 hours checking to see the power. That was the main concern was power outages, because that just throws a whole new realm in response. And, you was on some of our calls and know that we had all of our emergency shelters. And, there's a difference between a warming station and emergency shelters. And,
tell people about that, because I'll be on, and ladies and gentlemen, I do go through the briefings in our police department. We go through the briefings because we house almost 400 people on campus, especially during the storms, and we technically could take in people. But what's the difference between a warming center and an emergency shelter?
Usually the warming centers are opened up by either an individual church or an organization or something, just to give people relief to come in and maybe get a hot cup of coffee or a drink, not to actually shelter and stay the night. These are folks that just want to come out and get warm, and maybe their power's out, but they don't want to run their generator during the day, something like that, that they want to, just a warming station. But an actual emergency shelter station is something that we set up. We have local shelters that's a partnership around the county that will open up an emergency shelter, and we do what we call basic 3 hots in a cot. They get 3 hot meals and a place to sleep, a warm place. We make sure our shelters have emergency generators, water supply, and we try to keep those stocked all the time at those shelters throughout the year.
Again, so much that goes on behind the scenes to keep our listeners, to keep our people in this state safe. And John, I'm just so thankful for the work that you do as the director of the Raleigh County Emergency Services. We're going to take a quick break, so stay tuned to News Talk WWNR as we close out this edition of Our Communiversity Today.
Discover WVU Tech right in your backyard. With 6 ABET accredited engineering programs ranked among the top 100 for engineering and nursing nationwide, WVU Tech offers the best return on investment in West Virginia. Our small, supportive campus is home to high-demand programs in fields like hospitality and culinary, chemical forensics, and the only 4-year construction management degree in West Virginia. Learn more about all the exciting things happening at Tech at wvutech.edu today.
You need a website. Right now. You can't do anything. Right now. Just call Cucumber. Do it right here and now.
Get started right now on your dream website. Call Cucumber and Company today. 304-250-0123. Online at cucumberandcompany.com.
Bank with purpose and Golden Bear pride at Pendleton Community Bank. Our WVU Tech Affinity debit card does more than make purchases. It makes a difference. Every swipe supports the William Bill Benn Student Success Fund, helping WVU Tech students facing financial hardships stay on track to achieve their dreams. Show your school spirit and help shape the future, one transaction at a time. Visit yourbank.bank to get started today. Pendleton Community Bank, here for students, here for community, here for you. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Welcome back to Our Communiversity Today. I want to thank our guest, John Zilinski, who is the director of the Raleigh County Emergency Services, for sharing not only time with us, especially during this season with storms and other emergencies, but also being that talented individual who's dedicated his life to serving others. As I sit in studio with John, one of the things that I asked John is, how do you feel? How do you feel after navigating a episode, whether it be weather related, whether it be power outage? And I could see the smile emanate from his face, and he feels relieved, and not only relieved, but just an opportunity to sit back, have a little coffee, hug on people that he loves, because he knows that he's worked with the constituents here in Southern West Virginia to try to give our listeners and beyond that opportunity to do that with their family. And with family in mind, I think it's so important during this winter season and throughout the year that we stay close to one another. We continue to be prepared, not scared for the different things that may come to us. But rest assured that John Zilinski and the other members of the Raleigh County Emergency Services are here for Our Communiversity. And so please visit wwnrradio.com for additional information about Raleigh County Emergency Services and also how you can help build Our Communiversity today for a brighter Southern West Virginia tomorrow.
You've been listening to Our Communiversity Today, sponsored by Pendleton Community Bank and Cucumber and Company, a production of West Virginia University Institute of Technology and Communiversity partner, Southern Communications in Beckley. For more on this program and contact information, visit our website at wwnrradio.com.